Shout out to my patrons. Want to see your name here? Link is also down in the description. Out of all 30 active Major League Baseball teams, 24 of them have won at least one World Series. Others have won 27 of them. Damn Yankees. There are still a few franchises that just simply haven't been able to figure it out as the years have gone on. Some have only had 20 or 30 years, and some have had a lot longer. Let's look at the top 5 most poverty franchises in MLB history. I took a few things into account when doing these rankings. How long have you been a franchise, and what have you done in your time as a franchise? Starting off in our number 5 spot, a team that has a great chance to get off this list by the end of the season, the San Diego Padres. Right now they are building a great team with Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, and recently trained for 2 Cy Young candidates in Blake Snell and Yu Darvish. They have a fantastic chance to win their first World Series in franchise history this year. They did get there twice though, which is more than you can say about every other team on this list, except for one. Unfortunately for them, they weren't exactly competitive in those series, losing the 1984 World Series to the Detroit Tigers in 5 and getting swept by the New York Yankees in 1998. Players like Tony Gwynn, Trevor Hoffman, Greg Vaughn, and Goose Gossage couldn't win one for San Diego, and the closest they've been since was this past season when they got swept in the NLDS against their hated rivals, the Los Angeles Dodgers. But maybe Tatis Jr. can help do what Tony Gwynn couldn't do in 1984 and 1998. In the number 4 spot, we have the Texas Rangers. They were one well-played ball by Nelson Cruz away from not being on this list. Then again, a strike away in the next inning to not being on this list. Sorry, Ranger fans. Just like the Padres, the Rangers are also 0 for 2 in the World Series, but they've been to 2, which is still more than you can say for the remaining 3 teams on this list. But unlike the Padres, who can get off this list after this season, or sometime soon at least, the Rangers are going to be stuck on this list for at least another 3+ years, if not longer, because they aren't close to being a competitive playoff team at the moment. They had a lot of notable players in 2010 like Elvis Andrus, American League MVP Josh Hamilton, Vlad Sr., Neftali Feliz, and more, but just weren't able to get it done that year against San Francisco Giants while losing in 5 games. Most of those same players gave another run the next season, yet again, lost in the World Series, but this time it was in 7 games, and they'll never forget it, but not in a good way.
What a team! What a ride! The Cardinals are world champs in 2011.
But with 3 top runner prospects going to MLB.com, maybe they can get back into contention sometime soon. Coming in at number 3, this team just made sure they're going to stay on this list for a very long time after training one of the best players in baseball for nothing. That team, of course, is the Colorado Rockies. I still don't understand them training Nolan Arenado, and even their owners seem to have no answers for it. The Rockies have had some great hitters in their franchise history, like Hall of Famers Todd Helton, Larry Walker, and other great players like Andres Galarraga, Troy Tulowitzki, now former Rocky but future Hall of Famer Nolan Arenado. But believe it or not, they did play in a World Series. It was just in the second most forgotten World Series in the past 20 years after 2005. That's not disrespect towards the White Sox, it just seems like no one remembers they won a World Series in the modern era for some reason. That's also me not downplaying the Rockies' National League pennant in 2007. It was just a forgettable World Series. The Rockies won a combined 7-0 in the NLDS and NLCS, then got swept in the World Series against the Boston Red Sox. They're not just on this list because they don't have a World Series though. Don't get me wrong, that's the main reason, but they have also never won the National League West. That's right, they have 0 division championships in their franchise. They literally have more pennants than division titles, which I can't tell if that sounds good or bad without context, to be honest with you. They were extremely close to winning the West in 2018, but lost the game 163 to their hated rival, the Los Angeles Dodgers, 5-2. They still made it to the NLDS after beating the Cubs in the wildcard round, but got swept by the Brewers and simply haven't been the same since that year. Finishing in 4th place the past 2 seasons, which resulted in them trading Nolan Arenado, and Trevor Story could be next. I was trying my absolute best to find a way to leave this team off the list, but even I have to admit, as a fan, the Milwaukee Brewers are almost as poverty as it gets. They did make it to 1 World Series before, which was in 1982. It was only their 12th year after becoming a franchise too. That's not that bad. And they had 5 future Hall of Famers on that team, including Robin Yount, Paul Molitor, Ted Simmons, Don Sutton, Rip, and Raleigh Fingers. So they probably made it there again, right?
No.
They actually didn't even make the playoffs again for another 26 years. But in that magical season, thanks to Ryan Braun, Prince Fielder, and one of the best trade acquisitions of all time in CC Sabathia, they finally made it back to the postseason. They've never made it back to the World Series since 1982, but they have been close twice. In 2011, they won their first division title in 29 years, and one of the best moments in franchise history thanks to Tony Plesh, aka Nigel Morgan. I think every Brewer fan after that thought they were finally making it back to the Fall Classic. Then the Cardinals happened. Then after that, they went another 7 years without making the postseason after a mini rebuild in 2015 and 2017. They've had some recent success the past 3 seasons, making the playoffs each one of those years, which is a franchise record. They won the Central again in 2018 and made it as close to the World Series as they have since that 1982 season, but lost in 7 games to the Los Angeles Dodgers in the NLCS. The Dodgers seem to be the main protagonists with most of these teams, honestly. Josh Hader and Trent Grisham had something to say in 2019, and they only made it in 2020 because of the expanded playoffs. When you look at the Rangers and Rockies, you know they're nowhere close to being a contender. And when you look at the Padres, you know they're a World Series contender. But the Brewers are in a weird spot. They have a very solid core who can win the National League Central again this season, but most likely aren't a World Series contender, and their farm system won't help much with that either, considering they have a bottom 3 farm system in baseball. I just want to watch us win one World Series before I die. Before we get to the most poverty team in Major League Baseball today, let's look at some dishonorable mentions first. These are not in any order. If I would have made this list for the 2019 season, the Nationals would have been fighting for the #1 spot, and honestly, probably would have won that. As the Montreal Expos, they made the playoffs 1 time in 35 seasons. They won the NLDS the year they made it in 1981, and that was it for the Expos. The Nationals, on the other hand, which is the same franchise, made 4 playoff appearances for 2019 and lost every single time. The franchise has been around since 1969 and only made it out of the first round 1 time until that magical playoff run in 2019, which should have never happened. Thanks, Milwaukee. If I have the chance to say anything bad about the Chicago Cubs in a video, you know I have to do it. Yes, I know the Cubs have 3 World Series championships and 17 National League pennants, but 2 of those World Series happened before World War I started, and only 1 pennant has happened since World War II got done. The other World Series and pennant, of course, being in 2016, but being a big market team and taking 108 years to win a World Series sounds pretty poverty to me. The Los Angeles Angels have been a team since 1961. I've only been to 1 and won that World Series since then. Not that great, especially with one of the greatest players of all time on your team for the past decade. And lastly, the one other team that has never won a World Series but didn't make the actual top 5, the Tampa Bay Rays. The reason for that? Well, they've only been around since 1998 and have been to 2 World Series, losing in 5 to the Phillies in 2008 and losing in 6 after pulling Blake Snell for no reason in 2020. And the most poverty team in Major League Baseball is the Seattle Mariners. Every other team I listed is poverty, but the Mariners take it to a whole new level. The Mariners have been around since 1977 and have never even made it to the World Series before. Imagine being so bad that me as a Brewers fan can laugh at you. The Mariners have not even made the playoffs since 2001, where they won 116 games just to lose to the Yankees in 5 in the ALCS. They've actually had some decent seasons since then, but just haven't been able to get back since 2001. But with not even a pennant to show for 44 seasons as a team, I had to put them at the #1 spot as the most poverty franchise in Major League Baseball today. That is my top 5 most poverty teams in Major League Baseball. Remember, I made this before the 2021 season began, so if you guys are watching in 2026 and the Brewers have won 5 straight World Series, which is obviously going to happen, then obviously they're not going to be on this list at that point. But guys, if you guys did enjoy, please leave a like, subscribe if you're not already. I really, really appreciate it. It's an absolute beautiful day. Go Brewers. I will see you in my next video.